I don't care what people think. It's one of the biggest lies that men tell themselves and each other when it comes to dressing well. And that is what I want to talk about today. So, welcome back. Appreciate you joining me for another episode of The Suited Shootist. And let's just dive right into it, because anytime guys are presented with a suggestion of dressing better, it's not uncommon that you hear them say, well, I don't care what I wear, or I don't care what people think. And honestly, I think it's a load of bullshit for a couple different reasons. This I'm using to kind of prove a point. This is probably one of the louder and more ostentatious outfits that I think I've ever worn. And while I did it to kind of prove a point, kind of works. I kind of like it. So, not necessarily saying you're going to catch me in it every day, but the right environment, I could definitely see this being appropriate. And so, what I want to talk about is stemming from an experience I had a few months back. I was coming back home from a client meeting when I was at the custom clothier, and decided to stop, run a couple errands, do some grocery shopping. And I was, dudded up in sort of one of my more fashionista type outfits. Nothing crazy, but the stuff that you typically see me in on the channel. So it was, dark jeans and a sport coat, or maybe a vest. I forget exactly what it was. But the point is that I was arguably a little bit overdressed for going to the supermarket. When I went in, myself and two other gentlemen helped to kind of drive home this point that I'm trying to make. So you've got myself, which was, we'll call it kind of the dapper casual look. The second fella was, I don't know if it was Rockets gear, but it was head to toe, very well coordinated, red and black. But it was streetwear. So, they were like Air Force Ones or some type of fashion sneaker, high gloss, bright red, looked like they were right out of the box. Black and red, either joggers or sweatpants or something. And I forget if he was wearing a starter jacket or a t-shirt or what have you, flat billed hat, and definitely not my style by any stretch of the imagination. But the guy pulled it off exceptionally well, and it was evident that there was some thought and some care that went into it. And that's the important part. Now, the third gentleman definitely is much more of what you would expect to see from somebody that espouses that whole, well, I don't care how I dress, or I don't care what people think. Because, typical kind of suburban dad look, a little bit overweight, and I'm not saying that as an insult, because I am too. But he also wasn't really dressed well for his body type. Baggy shorts, that stop below the knee, flip-flops, kind of an oversized t-shirt that had some sarcastic, antisocial phrase on it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was one of those ones you buy at like Kohl's or one of the department stores where it's like, wait for sarcasm, or sarcasm is my second language, something like that. And it's interesting because if you were to just take kind of snapshots, or if you were to put the three of us in a lineup and you were to ask who cares about how they're dressed, you'd definitely pick me out. You might pick out the dude in streetwear. But the fact is, it applies to all three of us. Here's why. The dude in the t-shirt thought that snark was important and meaningful enough to put that out into the world. He wanted people to know that he was edgy, or, that he was snarky, or that he just wanted to be left the fuck alone. But that means that you care what people think. You are concerned with how that message is interpreted by other people. So when people say, oh, I don't care what people think, I'm calling bullshit on that, to be perfectly honest. What they mean is generally one of two things, possibly one of three. They either mean, I don't want to put any effort into what I wear, which tends to be kind of the majority message. Or, I'm scared of looking foolish, which I think is a close second. And that falls in line with a third, which is, I don't want anyone to have any expectations of me. And, if you set the bar low enough, then you don't have to worry about anybody expecting too much of you or having or disappointing people. So it really boils down to either being lazy or not wanting to look foolish. And to the people that are going to comment on this about how, no, I'm not that invested in it. Again, I call bullshit, because it's the same reason why you don't see more active participation in firearms training, is because people are so invested in their current self-image that they are guarding their ego to the detriment of their own personal development. It's true for gun school. It's true on the style side of the equation as well. And so my point to this whole thing is that I've said it before, and I will continue to drive this point home. The only two aspects that it really takes to dress well are care and intentionality. That's it. Doesn't take money. It's not about specific articles of clothing. It's about care and intentionality. And every single one of the three people in that little story that I just shared, there was some degree of care and a degree of intentionality that went into the outfit selections. Now, should you dress specifically to please other people? No. Why? Well, mostly because how you dress should be a reflection of who you are. It's personal branding. It needs to be authentic. And the truth of the matter is that you're never going to please everybody. I know that there are going to be comments talking about how this is ridiculous or fruity or whatever. And those I'm not concerned with, because they're not the intended recipient of the message. But in the same vein, would I wear this to a job interview? Not necessarily for most jobs, unless I was applying to work at the custom clothier. So, again, it's all contextual. It's all situationally dependent. But just think about that. If you say that you don't care what people think, at the end of the day, you're lying to yourself. So care, and direct that care into some outfit selection. Again, don't try to pretend to be something you're not, but just have it be a reflection of who you are. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. What examples of intentionality have you either exercised yourself or have you seen examples of? I want to hear that down in the comments. Do you think this outfit works? I want to hear that too. So outside of that, hope everybody has a fantastic week. And other than that, stay dangerous and stay sharp.